Captain Roland stood on the deck of his damaged ship, watching the stars through a cracked window. His ship, Echo 1, had barely survived the surprise attack during the council meeting. Burn marks ran across its metal skin, and two of his best crew members were dead. He couldn't forget the way the lasers came out of nowhere, hitting them like thunder. But what stayed in his mind the most was the silence that followed. No help, no answers, only lies. The Galactic Council told him it was pirates, a random attack, bad luck. But Rylan had been in space for too long to believe in luck. Something felt wrong. The Council had called for peace talks, invited Earth's leaders, and then sent Roylan as their voice. But when the talks started, the Council seemed cold, distant, almost angry. They didn't even look him in the eye. Hours later, the ship was attacked, and now, the Council wanted everyone to move on like nothing happened. Roylan returned to Earth angry and tired. He landed at a secret base near Mars, where a small group of trusted officers waited. His first job was to search Echo 1's damaged systems. The ship's black box had been half destroyed, but his engineer, Kara, was a genius. She pulled pieces of data out one by one. After hours of work, she found something strange, a short voice message hidden deep inside the communication logs. They played the message in a dark room, eyes wide. The voice was clear. A high-ranking council member said, "Earth is growing too strong. End them now. Make it look like pirates." There was silence after that. Nobody spoke for a full minute. Rylan felt cold. It was proof. The council had planned the attack. They were scared of Earth's power, scared of its fast growth, scared of its freedom, and they had betrayed them. The next day, Rylan tried to contact Earth's leaders, but their signals were blocked. The president was busy. The defense minister didn't respond. A few hours later, he got word that the president had resigned suddenly. The new leader was someone unknown, a man who had never spoken for Earth before. The news said everything was normal, that peace talks would continue. But Rylan knew the truth. The council had already taken control. He met with his old friend Marcus, a former soldier turned tech smuggler. Marcus told him things were worse than they thought. Strange ships had been seen near Earth's orbit. News stations had started to disappear, and families who asked questions simply went missing. Earth was under silent attack. No armies, no bombs, just lies, fear, and control. Rylan knew they had no time. He gathered a small team. Kara the engineer, Marcus the smuggler, and Lena, a sharp-tongued pilot who had once escaped a council prison ship. Together, they hid in an old mining base on the dark side of the moon. There, they planned how to spread the truth. They used old satellites to send secret signals, short clips of the council's betrayal, hints of what really happened. A few people started to notice. Messages came back from across Earth and Mars. "We believe you." "We saw the message." "What now?" But the council was fast. They shut down networks, replaced leaders, even changed school history files to erase Earth's real story. Anyone who questioned them was called a traitor or arrested quietly. Whole cities became quiet, scared places. People looked over their shoulders when they spoke. Even Rylan's own brother, a schoolteacher, was taken by force. His house burned the next day. Rylan stood in the cold metal halls of the mining base, staring at the stars. "They're winning," he said. "We have the truth, but they have the power." Kara walked up beside him. "Then we take it back," she said softly. "But we need more than a message. We need a weapon." It was Marcus who remembered something. Years ago, Earth's top scientists had built a prototype warship. Stronger than anything the Council had. Faster, smarter. But it was too dangerous, too powerful. Earth had hidden it under the ice of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. It was called Hammerlight. "If we can find it," Marcus said, "we can show the Council we're not afraid. We can make them listen." But getting there wouldn't be easy. Europa was now under council control. They used it as a mining colony. Thousands of workers lived there under guard. And worst of all, if the council found out what they were doing, they would destroy Hammerlight before Ryland's team could reach it. Still, it was their only chance. They left the moon base in silence. Lena flew the ship low and fast, avoiding patrols. Kara worked non-stop on the ship's systems. Marcus built fake IDs and hacked into council scanners. They flew through asteroid fields, deep space, even past a few abandoned stations. And the whole time, Ryland kept one hand on the secret recording. One night, as they floated in the quiet dark between Mars and Jupiter, Ryland played the message again. He watched the cold face of the council members say the words, "End them now." It burned into his mind. This was no longer just a mission. This was personal. When they reached Europa, they didn't land at the main station. That would be suicide. Instead, they dropped near an old frozen tunnel, long forgotten. Kara used a drill machine to break the ice, and after hours of digging, they found it. A giant metal door, buried under meters of frozen rock. The entrance to Hammerlight. It took them 3 days to get inside. The systems were frozen, but still alive. The AI inside was sleeping. When Kara connected the power, a low voice spoke. "Identify." Ryland stepped forward. "Captain Rylan, Earth Defense Fleet." The voice paused. Then it said, "Welcome back, Captain." Inside the ship, they found rooms of glowing metal, deep weapons chambers, and a command deck shaped like a spearhead. Everything looked untouched, like it had been waiting. But then the alarms went off. Council patrol ships had found them. Their time was up. Lena ran to the pilot's seat. "We have one chance," she shouted. "If Hammerlight flies, we fight. If not, we die here." Rylan looked at Kara. "Can you start it?" She didn't answer at first. Then she nodded. "I'll try." The engines rode to life. The ice shook and cracked. Hammerlight rose out of Europa's surface like a dragon waking from sleep. Outside, the council ships fired. Red lasers hit the ice around them. The rebels screamed orders. Marcus manned the gun deck. Lena pulled the ship upward. Inside the control room, Ryland looked at the stars again. He knew what was coming. The council had betrayed Earth. Now, humanity wanted revenge. And this time, they were ready to fight back. Hammerlight flew through the black sky like a silent storm. Behind it, council ships chased at full speed, firing again and again. But their weapons could not catch Hammerlight. The ship was faster than anything they had ever seen. Its shields were strong. Its engines burned through space like fire through dry grass. Inside the ship, Ryland stood on the bridge with his crew. Kara sat at the control panel, hands moving fast. Lena kept the ship steady. Marcus watched the scanners, eyes sharp. "We lost 2 of them," Marcus said. "The other 3 are falling back." "Good," Ryland said. "They know we're not weak anymore." Hammerlight reached a hidden base near Saturn. The base was an old fuel station, long forgotten by the council. Ryland's team used it to hide, rest, and plan. They had survived the first battle, but the war was just starting. Ryland knew they needed more than one ship. The council had fleets, armies, and power across the stars. Hammerlight was a symbol, a warning, but they needed people, fighters, truth speakers, rebels. He sent signals out across the old rebel channels, across Earth and Mars, to anyone who still listened. The message was simple. The council lied. Earth was betrayed. We have proof. Join us. People started to answer. Some were soldiers who had seen too much. Some were pilots, engineers, and scientists. Others were just angry. Angry at how their families were taken. Angry at how their cities were locked down. Angry at how their freedom had been stolen. They called themselves the Sparks of Soul. Small groups met in hidden caves on Mars, under ice tunnels on Europa, and even deep inside Earth's oceans. They shared the message. They passed the recording from hand to hand. People began to believe, but the council moved quickly. They sent their own messages, full of lies. They said Rilan was a traitor. That Hammerlight was stolen. That Earth had never been attacked. And that anyone who helped the rebels would be hunted. People started to disappear. A doctor in New London vanished after showing the recording in her hospital. A pilot in Olympus was arrested in front of his family. Even children were taken if they asked too many questions. The fear grew again, but so did the resistance. Rilan's team flew Hammerlight from moon to moon, helping new rebel cells, teaching them to fight. Kara shared tech tools that could jam council signals. Marcus gave them fake ID codes. Lena trained young pilots. One night, while flying through the rings of Saturn, a strange signal appeared on the screen. It was old, broken, and came from deep space. Kara fixed the signal and played the voice. "This is Admiral Vas-Korin. I served the council. I know what they did. I have the full plan. Meet me." The signal had a location, an asteroid field near Neptune. Rylan didn't know if it was a trap. But if it was real, this man might know more than anyone. He gave the order. Set course. They reached the asteroid field after 2 days. The area was quiet. No ships, no signals, just rocks floating in black space. Then a light flashed. A small ship appeared from behind a large rock. The ship was old, rusted, barely flying. But it opened a channel. "Rylan, you came." The man who stepped onto Hammerlight was tall, gray-haired, and wore an old council uniform. His eyes were tired. "My name is Vas-Korin," he said. "I was once a leader in the council's defense arm. I helped plan Earth's attack." Lena pulled her gun. "Why should we shoot you now?" Korin raised his hands. "Because I didn't know the full truth. Not at first." He told them a terrible story. The council had feared Earth for years. Earth grew fast. Its people were smart, wild, and brave. They didn't follow council orders like other planets. They asked questions. They built their own weapons. Some council leaders said Earth was a threat to peace. One leader stood out, High Chairwoman Aristane. She was strong, clever, and cold. She had once lived on Earth, but now called it a disease. She said Earth would rise too far, Korin said. She believed you would take the galaxy by force, so she made the first move. She ordered the peace talks as a trap. The attack on Ryland's ship was only the beginning. The plan was to break Earth's government, control its media, and make people forget who they really were. "And then what?" Ryland asked. "Then they destroy Earth's power grid," Korin said. "Without energy, cities fall. Chaos spreads. They bring in help, council peacekeepers, to fix things. But really, they take control. Slowly, quietly." Korin had seen the full plan last month. He tried to stop it. He failed. Now he was hunted too. "We can't stop them with just one ship," he said. "But there's a chance. A way to strike first." He showed them a map. "There's a vault in orbit near Pluto," he said. "Inside is the core that powers the Council's grid system. If you take it, you stop their control, and you can power Hammerlight fully. Right now, your ship is strong. But with the core, it becomes a god." Raylan looked at the map. It was deep in Council space. Guards, drones, traps. Still, they had to try. They split the team. Rylan, Lena, and Marcus would go for the core. Kara would stay and prepare Hammerlight for full activation. Korin gave them his access codes. "It's not much," he said, "but it might buy you 5 minutes." They left at night, floating through deep space. The Council didn't know yet, but they would soon. The vault was massive, a spinning ring around a frozen moon. Thousands of lights blinked on its surface. Drones moved like bees. One mistake, and the whole galaxy would know. Lena flew low. Marcus hacked the signal walls. Rylan held his breath. They docked silently. Inside, the halls were empty. Cold. Metal. The vault had no guards, just machines. Rylan used Corrin's code to pass 2 doors. The third one stopped. Code rejected, the voice said. The lights turned red. Alarms screamed. Move, Marcus shouted. They ran. Laser turrets dropped from the ceiling. Lena shot back, fast and clean. Rylan used his old codes to slow the system. They reached the core room in 4 minutes. The core floated in a glass chamber, glowing blue. Marcus opened the case. 3 minutes, he yelled. Drones poured in. Red lights flashed. Rylan fired, covering Marcus. Lena grabbed the core. They ran again. Back at the ship, Council fighters appeared. A full squad. Lena flew like fire. Rylan manned the guns. Marcus sealed the core inside a safe too. They jumped to light speed with 1 second left. Back at the base, Kara waited. She placed the core inside Hammerlight's engine. The ship shook. Lights brightened. The AI voice returned. Core accepted. Power level. Maximum. Hammerlight was ready. But so was the Council. They had tracked the Vault attack. Now, fleets moved toward Earth. Rylan stood on the bridge. This is it, he said. They wanted to erase us. Instead, we'll become the storm they feared. The stars lit up with fire. The war had begun. The stars above Earth were no longer quiet. Dozens of Council warships now surrounded the planet, forming a wall of metal and fear. Giant command ships hung in orbit like monsters waiting to strike. Smaller attack cruisers flew in patterns, scanning for anything out of place. Earth was locked down. People on the surface could feel it. The skies were full of strange lights. Power cuts became common. Cities were silent at night. Schools taught new lessons, lessons written by the Council. The news said everything was fine, that Earth had joined a new era of peace. But everyone knew it was a lie. In hidden rooms and deep shelters, whispers of the truth still passed from ear to ear. Rylan's message had reached far. The recording of the Council's betrayal played in secret bars, underground labs, and even inside broken-down factories. People listened, their faces dark with anger. But they were still afraid. They had no weapons, no ships, no way to fight back. Not yet. Far away, hidden in an asteroid belt near Neptune, Hammerlight floated in silence. Its new core glowed with deep blue light. The ship was awake, alive, and hungry for battle. Rylan stood on the bridge, staring at a live map of Earth's orbit. Every red dot was a Council ship. There were over 50. Beside him, Kara checked the weapons system. We've got plasma rails, cloak drive, EMP blasters, and the new fusion core is stable. Lena leaned against the wall. Sounds fun. Marcus added, we've got one shot at this. We take out their lead ship. The others might pull back. Their target was the Blood Halo, the biggest Council command ship in orbit. It carried thousands of troops, a full air defense net, and the leader of the Earth operation, High Chairwoman Aristane. Rylan had waited a long time to see her again. They couldn't attack head-on. Even Hammerlight wasn't that strong. They needed a plan. Kara designed a fake ship signal, pretending to be a Council science vessel. Marcus forged entry codes. Lena studied the guard patrols. And Rylan? He sat in silence, going over every detail in his mind. The plan was simple, but deadly. Get close to the Blood Halo. Use Hammerlight's new cloak to sneak aboard. Plant a virus inside the ship's eye. Once the virus spread, the ship would shut down, just long enough for Hammerlight to fire a single, perfect shot. One bullet to kill a monster. They launched at night. Hammerlight floated through space like a ghost, hidden behind a field of silent energy. Council scanners saw nothing. Patrol ships flew past, blind. Rylan held his breath the entire time. When they reached the blood halo, they drifted just 20 clicks away. "Hold position," Lena whispered. Kara sent the virus through a short-range signal. The code was complex, dangerous. If even one line failed, the Council eye would detect it. Then it would fire every weapon it had. For 12 minutes, nobody spoke. Then Kara looked up. "It's in." Ryland gave the order. "Target the core. One shot. No second chance." Hammerlight's main gun hummed with power. The AI adjusted the angle, checking the math 100 times per second. The glow filled the bridge. Ryland felt it in his chest, like thunder. Fire. The beam shot through space, fast as light. It hit the blood halo dead center. For a second, nothing happened. Then the ship exploded. Red fire ripped through the sky. A giant ball of light bloomed over Earth. Half the Council fleet turned in shock. The other half tried to understand what had just happened. On Earth, people looked up and saw it. The biggest Council ship destroyed in seconds. The news channels couldn't hide it. Every camera, every screen showed the blast. Some people screamed. Others cheered. Many just stared, mouths open. Rylan's voice followed. "This is Captain Rylan of Earth. We bring the truth. The Council betrayed us. But we are still here. We are not afraid. We will never bow." The message was short, but it was enough. Across the planet, people stood up. Police stations were overrun. Council flags were pulled down. Workers on Mars shut down Council mining machines. Colonists on Ganymede took control of their own ports. Even a few Council soldiers, seeing the truth, dropped their weapons and joined the resistance. But the Council wasn't finished. 3 of their remaining warships broke from orbit and raced toward Hammerlight. Lena spun the ship around. "Here we go." The battle was fast and brutal. The first enemy ship fired missiles. Hammerlight dodged with a roll and returned fire with railguns. The second ship tried to flank them, but was hit by an EMP pulse and spun into the side of a satellite. The third ship launched boarding drones. They clamped onto Hammerlight's side. Metal spiders with red eyes and sharp claws. They crawled into the air vents, cutting through walls. Marcus grabbed a rifle. "I've got this," he said. He met the drones in the lower hall, blasting them apart with close-range fire. Sparks flew. Walls burned. The ship shook with every impact. Kara worked at the main console. "Too many. We need more power to the shields." Rylan moved to help Marcus. The two fought side by side, blasting the last of the drones into metal dust. Rylan's shoulder was cut, but he didn't stop. When the last drone fell, Hammerlight's engines roared. Lena flew them back into deep space, leaving the smoking wreckage of 2 Council ships behind. But the final one escaped. And it sent a message back to Council Command. High Chairwoman Aris Dane wasn't dead. She hadn't been aboard the Blood Halo. She had stayed behind, safe inside a hidden fortress on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. She had expected betrayal. Now she was angry. She called in the full Council fleet. 100 ships began moving from deep space. They would reach Earth in 3 days. Rylan stood in the Hammerlight's war room, bleeding from the shoulder, staring at a map full of red dots. "We hit them hard," he said. "But they're not broken." Lena asked, "What do we do?" Rylan looked around at his crew, tired, wounded, but strong. "We do what humans always do," he said. "We fight back. We don't run. We take this fight to Titan." Marcus smiled. "Let's go scare them." But Kara said, "We'll need more than Hammerlight. We need every rebel ship we can find." And so they sent the final call. Not a message, a warning. To every free soul in the Sol system. This is the final battle. The Council comes to crush us. We will not hide. We will meet them on Titan. Bring your ships. Bring your courage. This is our home. Let's take it back. Ships from all sides of the system started moving. Old cargo haulers, tiny fighters, pirate boats, science shuttles turned into bombers. People from Earth, Mars, Ganymede, Europa, even Pluto. The sparks of Sol had become a storm, and the storm was heading for Titan. The skies over Titan were dark with smoke. The giant moon of Saturn, once silent and cold, was now the stage for the final battle. Council ships filled the orbit, like shadows over the ice. They had come to crush the rebellion, to put an end to humanity's defiance. But they had underestimated Earth. Hammerlight led the charge, followed by a dozen rebel ships, each one smaller, older, but full of hope and fire. Ryland stood at the helm of his ship, staring out into the void. His crew was with him, ready to fight to the last breath. "We're outnumbered," Lena said, her voice calm but filled with resolve. "But we've got the power of the truth on our side." Ryland nodded. "We can win this. We have to." The fleet moved into position. Titan's icy surface stretched out beneath them, a barren world that had once been a peaceful place. Now it was the place where Earth's future would be decided. On the bridge, Kara worked quickly, keeping Hammerlight's systems in check. "Shields at full power," she said, her hands moving over the console. "Weapons ready. The AI is prepped for the assault." Marcus stood by the gunner's seat, eyeing the enemy fleet. His fingers drummed against his weapon. "This is it. No turning back now." "Give the signal," Rylan ordered. Lena engaged the engines, and Hammerlight rocketed forward, leading the charge. Behind them, the rebel fleet followed. They weren't just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting for the future of their people, for the freedom of Earth and its colonies. The Council ships reacted quickly. They moved into attack formations, their guns firing before the rebels could get close. The space around them lit up with explosions, laser beams slicing through the darkness. Hammerlight took the first hit, its shields glowing bright before absorbing the energy. The ship shook, but it held steady. Ryland's hands gripped the controls tightly, his eyes fixed on the enemy ships. "Fire," he commanded. The powerful railguns on Hammerlight's sides fired, sending beams of deadly energy toward the enemy. One of the smaller Council ships was torn apart by the blast, breaking apart into fiery pieces. But the Council wasn't finished. Their main fleet, led by the Shadow Queen, a massive warship, returned fire with devastating precision. Its massive weapons hit Hammerlight again and again, sending shockwaves through the ship's hull. "We're taking damage," Kara called out. "We've lost one of the engines." Lena grimaced as she pulled the ship hard to the left, avoiding another volley of fire. "We're not done yet." They were closing in on the Shadow Queen, the flagship of the Council fleet. Ryland's heart raced, but he kept his focus. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the moment that would either break the Council's grip on the galaxy or see them wiped out forever. "Prepare to board," Ryland said. "Marcus, you're with me. Lena, you take the controls. Kara, keep the shields up as long as you can." The plan was simple. Board the Shadow Queen, destroy its command center, and kill High Chairwoman Aristane. Without her, the Council would lose control of the fleet, and the rebels would have a chance to win. Hammerlight made its final approach, moving through the firestorm of the battle. The other rebel ships fought hard, keeping the Council fleet distracted, buying them precious time. Lena guided the ship into position. "We're close enough. Prepare for docking." Hammerlight's boarding bay opened and Ryland, Marcus, and a small group of rebels ran out onto the surface of the Shadow Queen. The metal beneath their boots was cold, the air thick with the smell of burning fuel. "Stay alert," Rylan ordered. They moved quickly, avoiding enemy fire as they made their way through the ship's corridors, The Shadow Queen was massive, its interior filled with high-tech systems and reinforced walls. But none of it mattered to Rylan. He was focused on one thing: reaching Aristane. The group split up, moving through the ship in silence. They took out guards, disabled security systems, and cut their way through doors. Finally, they reached the command center. Inside, Aristane stood in front of a large control panel, her face cold and emotionless. She looked up as Rylan and his team entered, her eyes narrowing. "You," she said, her voice full of disdain. "You think you can stop the Council? You think you can take Earth back?" Rylan stepped forward. "You took everything from us. We're not just going to roll over. We're fighting back." Aris laughed bitterly. "You're nothing. Just a handful of rebels. The Council will crush you. We have all the power. We control the galaxy." "Not anymore," Rylan said, his voice steady. "We're taking back our future." Before she could respond, Marcus charged, gun blazing. The guards around Aris fell quickly, and Rylan and Marcus moved toward the control panel. Aris tried to run, but Rylan was faster. He grabbed her by the arm, forcing her to face him. "It's over," he said. "Your reign ends here." Aris's eyes flashed with fear, but she refused to beg. "You think this changes anything? The Council is eternal. You'll never win." Rylan shook his head. "We already have." He pressed a button on the control panel, and the Shadow Queen's systems began to fail. The ship shook, alarms blaring as its weapons and shields powered down. The battle outside stopped. The rebel fleet had won. The Council was defeated. As the Shadow Queen's systems went dark, Rylan turned to his team. They had done it. They had taken down the enemy. The rebellion had succeeded. Back on Earth, the news channels finally told the truth. The Council's lies were exposed. The people of Earth celebrated, and the Sparks of Soul became heroes, their names remembered forever in the history books. But for Rylan and his crew, it wasn't just a victory. It was a new beginning. Earth was free. The galaxy had been changed forever, and humanity had shown the galaxy that they would never back down. As Hammerlight drifted through space, Rylan looked out at the stars. There were still many battles ahead, but for now, the galaxy was theirs. And the fire of humanity's spirit burned brighter than ever.